we're new to this streaming thing, so we're still, making it happen. Cheers.
Cheers. Поехали. Russian.
I can't cheers in Russian. I can barely cheers in English.
Teach поехали.
Поехали? What does that mean?
Let's go on a ride.
Let's go on a ride.
Yeah, it's left.
Yeah.
One more time.
Поехали.
Поехали. Man. Okay.
Did it.
Welcome to the second Saturday Artist Talk here on October 13th, 2018. I think this is our 30-something Artist Talk. Holy moly. So just as a quick background, this Artist Talk is more of an informal conversation between myself and the artist, myself and the curator, and it is designed to create a little bit of extra level to the exhibition. And hopefully we'll wander all over the place, but there's no set guidelines, and it's just going to be me kind of posing questions and thinking of stuff aimed at our wonderful guest, Mika Sperling, who created Before You, Above the Circle, this wonderful exhibition. And also Mika's the recipient of the 2018 Aggregate MFA Invitational. So she's a very recent graduate from San Francisco Art Institute. And also this is the first exhibition that has been created in full support with the Andy Warhol Foundation support. So thanks, Andy Warhol Foundation. Yeah, that's right. Thanks all for coming, and we'll go for a little while, and then we'll open it up to questions. We'll take a break if you feel like we need to, but otherwise it's pretty chill. And enjoy. Thanks. Mika.
Hi.
Thanks for coming.
No, thank you.
How are you doing? Are you relaxed? Sort of,
yeah.
Did you get some sleep?
Last night was a little rough, but yeah.
Rough due to Rob.
My newborn. She, the good times are kind of over. Now that the exhibition is up. She was behaved up until now, but now she's getting a little bit more like she wants more attention. But it's good. Well, it's good.
Well, that's fantastic. Sorry, I'm sorry. So Mika had her baby. 2 days before install started?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So it was a welcome fourth party, fifth party during installation. Did not make a noise.
She did not. She did not mind us working here. I think it was pretty. We were all pretty amazed, I guess, how well it worked out.
So there's a video piece in this show that is you standing in Norilsk and freezing outside, just playing behind me, and you knew that you were pregnant when you were making that piece.
Yeah, I found out a week after I arrived in Norilsk, and then I couldn't drink anymore. So I was in Russia for the first time in my hometown, and I kind of with this news, but I quickly things changed because I felt I was much more getting closer to my mom in a way because I was about to become a mother myself, and it was all about really looking for my young mother, and so when I decided to do this performance piece, I felt I wanted to get as close as to my mom as possible, and by being pregnant, that kind of naturally just happened even more. But I stood in the old neighborhood. My mom would, go grocery shopping in this cold and kind of walk in this neighborhood. So I just wanted to relive that.
So was that your first time back there since you were a baby?
Yeah.
And how old were you when you left?
7 months.
So you were 7 months old when you left, and then you went back, 1 month, 2 months pregnant?
2 weeks pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah.
You just found out. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What made you go back? What was the impetus? Was it artistic, or was it a lot of
I mean, I always wanted to go back, but obviously, since I'm an artist, I might as well combine it with a project. I had those dreams where I would go back and just maybe revoke memories that were deeply inside of me, but I knew that was kind of not the truth. But in a way it was, because I had implanted memories through my siblings, and so everything I saw, I felt like I've been here before, I've seen it, and I had some notes from my siblings before I went, where I should go, what I should, or check out if this cafe still exists. And most of the places didn't, but it was still, okay, this used to be that, or I had some relatives there that would guide me through those places.
You're the youngest of 8, 9?
Of 8.
Of 8. And the oldest was how old when
she
when
was
you left?
20 and I was 7 months. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So she had her whole life there, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
At the time. What made you? I mean, so you were getting your. You went to SFAI to get your sculpture degree or installation. Like, what was your focus while you were there?
What was my focus? Well, I went, got a Fulbright, so I applied to study in America, and I picked San Francisco for its place, for its uniqueness, and the Art Institute for diving into more, because I was mostly focused on photography before I came, so SFAI really opened up. I could work with video, I could work with installation, no one was questioning that. It wasn't so photography driven. And I could just experiment, basically. And so I did that. And I think video really got my work to a whole new place for me, as mainly been interested in storytelling. And I couldn't do that just with photography. I felt kind of stuck in a way. And so I started to incorporate writing, as in the main movie piece in the theater, you can see me talking, telling the story, because I am interested in telling. I'm not just interested in showing, but I also want to have an open conversation and openness. So this room, I would say, leaves the viewer much more open, whatever you or gives you an experience of the place, where the piece in the theater it's more precise, more telling you about the background.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a teaching video. I would always talk about video being an active medium and cinema being a passive one, and that, like, with video, you're almost always given the complete option to walk away or enter it in the middle, or enter it for 1 second instead of 20 minutes. Whereas when you commit to a cinema project, you're seated. You're receiving.
You can't just walk. Yeah, I mean, you can actually if you want to.
But I think. but I think that there's that balance of considering what makes sense in which that this exhibition obviously is really thought about. So just before we kind of diverge too much from the family stuff, you were studying in Germany. So you were in Germany your whole life after leaving Norilsk.
Yeah.
What leaned you towards becoming an artist?
I didn't have any artists in my family, so that was kind of...
There's 7 other boxes checked?
Yeah.
And then you were the 8th, like, oh, artist.
You might as well. No, but it was actually just... I started with graphic design, and it was just... I heard it from a friend who was doing it, and I thought, okay, I should apply, because I didn't have really good grades at that time, so I didn't have that many options. It sounds terrible, but so I started with graphic design, because they just looked at your portfolio. They didn't care about the grades, and I liked it, but it was in a way, I mean, I think with art you think, okay, you want something practical, and graphic design is kind of it's more practical to find a job. But after having my first job and really enjoying it for a time, I thought, okay, I need to go back to really do something I want, just because I want to do it. And so my first Russian trip came up in 2013. I was very inspired by a photographer who came to the university for the first time to teach, Andrea Diefenbach, and she really got me into thinking about, okay, what do you want to do as a photographer? So I went to Russia and started documenting the Mennonites. So also based on my own roots, in Omsk, that's near the Kazakhstan border. Mm-hmm. So I went there and lived with, milking cows and biking through those villages and talking to people and being invited everywhere. And it was fun, and it was such a new way of working than being on a computer doing design. So I thought, okay, why shouldn't I do more of this? Mm-hmm. And I already recorded them, but I never ended up. I stuck kind of with photography, but video is an intimidating medium, I feel, when you're by yourself, because you have a recording device, you have a camera, so many possibilities, and if you don't have an assistant, it's just too much. So I was a little intimidated by that in the beginning, but I had dreamt about Norilsk already then to do it, not having the money yet. And then this year I thought, if I'm not going to do it now, I never will. So right. I just have to go, even though it was winter, which is not the best time to go there for the first time. I think everyone thought it's crazy, but I thought, okay, I want to graduate with something bigger, something I might be afraid of, that I'm spending all this money to get there. And it's also very hard. I had to get permission to enter, so it was a lot of work. Thanks to my lovely cousin, made it work. We needed documents from my great-grandparents, basically, or everything to prove that you were born there. That I'm related to her, and so she can invite me, and it helped that I was born there. But so
just to visit
for
why is that?
Well, that's a good question. Once I got there, it didn't seem to be too hard to get in, but I think they just want to control kind of who enters, and that's
Is it just that city, or is it any city?
There are a few closed cities, I think. And I'm not sure what other city in Russia has that rule. It's called closed city. It was open for a time, but then it went back to being closed.
I mean, do you think it has something to do with the history of the city being kind of such a kind of a brutal mining city?
Well, I think it's just about control, and I mean, it's the city. They only have the mining and the working class. Basically, it's all about that. What else would you want there? I mean, there's not so much I mean, and they have culture, and they have much more visitors now. And if you're Russian, you don't need permission. It's only if you're a foreigner.
Right.
But I think it's about control, and it's definitely a place where what's it called? I don't know the wording for that. Military. What's it called? If a place is sensitive to that, it would be a point.
Right, like a dangerous. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't know if there's a word for it. Anybody have a?
So they don't necessarily want too much information to get out.
Yeah, it's like a sort of secretive, pseudo-secretive, but a target.
Yeah,
a military target for other countries if they were to try
to
disrupt Russia. So when you were there, did you have? I mean, obviously, you still speak Russian, I imagine, very well. Like, were you able to just negotiate? Were you by yourself? You were with Anthony?
No, I was by myself. My cousin picked me up. She.
So you had a bit of a guide.
With her. Yeah. I had a perfect guide, and then I was just meeting new people through friends and Instagram. I just happened, my siblings told me a few contacts from back childhood, so I was just out of the sudden giving an artist talk at their they have a pole art residency. So I was giving an artist talk there in Russian, which was really hard for me because I can't write in Russian, so I didn't know how to write my notes down before that, so that was really challenging. I think I had English notes because German would have been even more confusing. I don't know, it's easier from English to get, I don't know, it was really weird. But I think I did well considering. And it was interesting because I showed what I just had produced, like photographs I've taken, to the audience. Just there. Yeah, I was basically telling them what I'm here for.
Right.
I didn't know really what it was like. Yeah, so I told them what I knew, and then I got really also harsh critique for like, portraying the city kind of gray, but then also back up that it's winter, the city is gray, so what is she going to do? So it was an interesting, heated conversation, and I really enjoyed that I got to know what the people there would think of me doing something there, because most of them really, I mean, so many people really love the city and want to show its colors. It has these beautiful polar lights, for example. I didn't get the chance to see those, but it was all, about that too.
What did you run into anybody that knew your family?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess because your cousin.
Yeah, my cousins for sure. They would tell me funny stories about my parents and what they did, and my mom denies everything. Like they did their own vodka, and then my mom was like, "That never happened." And I don't know, why would my cousin make this up? I don't know, but I wish I got a chance to get some to meet a stranger that would remember my dad or something, but that didn't happen. Because I mean, you must know that my father would have been already pretty old now, because he was 50 when he got me. So the people that would know him are either dead or moved away. So no one really stays in Norilsk after pension very much.
You get pension and you leave.
Usually, yeah.
Russia. Do most people leave Russia, or do they leave?
No, they can't. One can run.
What made your family? I think we talked about this a little bit when we were just chatting early on. But like, what made them up and leave?
Well, we had the opportunity because both my parents have German roots. So in the 90s, Germany opened the borders and called basically
for anybody to come back.
Everyone with German background, and so it seemed like a good deal, and all of my relatives came, and then my parents just came too, because it got more and more expensive. Have 8 children in a cold place like this, you have to dress all the kids, the clothes with like real fur, and so it was it was getting impossible. It was getting harder for them. Yeah.
And your father died shortly after Germany, or
9 years after. Or 8 years after. Yeah, he had a stroke first and then cancer.
But likely complications from mining, or?
Yeah, but it's also cancer ran in his family. Sure. But he was the youngest, and he died the first, so it was definitely the 23 years in the mine that had an effect.
So when you made this, so I didn't know that what you talked about you kind of doing the Mennonite photojournalism. What did they think of the camera?
Well, there
was
are
it
lots
a digital
of
camera or film?
Digital.
Yeah.
I mean, they know digital. It's not Mennonite. There are multiple different groups, so they use technology, and so they weren't. But it all depends. Some were more shy, but there were a few that really, didn't want be photographed. But it was more. They take photos themselves. They're not against photography. They're more sensitive to the internet, basically, or articles about them. And television, they don't have television for the most part. Yeah.
I was just wondering. I grew up in similar areas in Pennsylvania, and I went to school with a lot of Mennonite and Amish.
And they were against photography?
They were. I don't know. I know that they were definitely against television and against as many non labor related tools as electronic tools as. I just was wondering what the internet did to that. I'm sure it was terrible. So from that experience, did you make a body work out of that experience?
Yeah, I did, and I ended up making a book, and only a few copies, and that's still in the back of my head to get that project out. I felt I was a little too young for that big of a project at that time, 23, where I thought I went into so many directions, so it actually still needs to be evolved for its final, so I'm still not done with that. But
and then was that a project that did you have multiple projects between that and before you?
Yeah. Thank God I wasn't just doing that.
No.
No.
I guess I'm trying to find the path. Like, what brought you back to doing like a photojournalist project of yourself?
Yeah, in between I needed a break. I needed to do something entirely different. I went to Singapore because my boyfriend was living there, so I went there and did something entirely different, like just video work on a transgender sex worker, and I just wanted kind of, I think, to see a different path, or see work with different people, basically. And I also left it entirely up to her to direct me what we're going to do. It was a collaboration more than me telling her something about her. It was really, how do you want to be portrayed? And so that was good for me, I think, to do that. And then in San Francisco, I also ended up, wait, what did I do here?
Your sisters.
Oh, yeah, good, thank you. So after that, I have this obsession with my family, so I can't not work on family in a way, even, but my sisters are very camera shy in terms of they don't want to be recognized, so I had to find ways to tell something without really showing them. So I chose myself in terms of like dressing as them, or staging photography with them together. I took one of them on a trip to Russia. It was her first time to those Mennonite villages, and I didn't photograph the Mennonites at all, just me and her together. And that was a nice process, because it was fun, first of all, to do something, to lose control over really the shutter in a way, and hope there will be a nice outcome. And I think eventually I started writing memories I had with my sisters and incorporated that. So I think that was the step towards this project, towards this video I have here.
And that was when you were still in Germany then?
No, that was when I was at SFAI.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you traveled back?
Exactly, yeah, over summer.
Oh,
yeah. I always have to travel to work for some reason. I mean, it's funny, I guess there are people who can't really work on the spot in their immediate environment. They just have to go somewhere, work, come back, and then edit.
I'm like that. I think I can't. Yeah, similarly. Right, I can't write in this building.
Okay.
If I try, I just am a miserable failure. I have to go and be, even at a bar. I could just be at a shitty bar and write fine, but I can't do it here. I get that. I get it.
I think it's a mindset thing, but...
Right, and also it's just like you put your mind in a new place, and it kind of has it open, whereas like your home there's other responsibilities, there's other things, you have to give respect to your partner, and your cleaning the house and your things.
My child now.
Now your child, your terrific child, is doing fabulous. What do you think was the biggest step up that SFAI gave you in terms of like thinking through a project of this size? I mean, you're kind of talking about books and videos and stuff, but I mean, your thesis, was you'd split apart into like a multimedia kind of presentation, similar to this except a bit smaller. What was it that triggered that? That triggered this.
To make it possible, you mean? Or?
No, I mean, I think just like what in your mind made you go, I'm going to make a history museum exhibition.
Oh, okay. Well, I was working with multiple different professors, but they all, I mean, they all had their different ideas, but they were, what I really liked about SFAI, no one was forcing anything on me, so they were really, what do you want? So I had to know basically what I wanted, and I think, and that's the hardest thing I think for artists, is to know what you want. But by the end, I felt, actually I do know what I want, because I thought a lot of MoMA, because I would go and get inspired, and I kind of felt I wanted a museum show, because I like this combination of, I mean, this is a very intimate project or a very immediate family, but I like to separate myself a little bit from it, to not make it too sentimental, maybe. That fear of that I have, but also I just like this cool atmosphere that in a way can reflect the coldness of the place, Norilsk, and then but still then opening up and getting someone really into the story, like the movie theater. I really like that I can have that here, rather than with my installation at the Mason Center, where it was mainly cool and not so much intimate. The space didn't allow for that, I felt. So I feel that this is kind of an evolution of the last show. I'm really happy about that. But honestly, the space really dictated a lot about it too.
No, I mean, sort of, except we kind of, I mean, I think the large reason that we were kind of gravitated towards you as a person to pursue for this was that you were already thinking about those ideas in your thesis exhibition, you know, that it was this...
How it's...
Yeah, it was like this, here's a thing, here's another thing that ties those things together, here's another thing that ties two of those other three things together, here's a better explanation. You know, it was this assembly process, which just is something that it's very difficult to do in a thesis, because you're kind of, I mean, I know as
you're given a space.
Yeah, and you're I mean, they lean you into a product, even if it's not a sales product. They lean you into creating like a summated one thing.
Yeah, I
for your thesis.
That. Yeah,
but I don't think you do. I think you still did, but you did it with multiple objects and created a story. I mean, I think that there's influence in the way that you're thinking about things from like what was your favorite history museum that you ever went to?
In my hometown, there's...
In Germany?
Yeah, we have a huge museum, and it has, I think it has does it have T-Rex, or was I dreaming? But it has these really weird...
Wait, it's like a history?
It's a history museum, and it has all these weird embryos in those glasses, and as kids, from kindergarten, we would go there, we would paint from the paintings, we would look at those weird embryos. We would, I don't know, we kept going back. I love that place.
Did anybody become a scientist in your family because of that?
No scientists, no.
Doctors? No doctors?
No doctors, no. Mathematicians.
Oh.
But yeah, so, not.
I'm sorry to break your chain of thought. I just got excited at the thought that would have influenced somebody in a different way.
Oh, wait, no. One studied biology.
Oh.
Okay, wait, yeah. I have so many. No, it's...
Yeah, so many siblings.
It happens sometimes. But I love that, and I wanted to become an archaeologist.
Oh, okay.
Back then, yeah.
Oh, see.
So I think that kind of,
What appealed to you about studying archaeology, or thinking of studying, even if you never did it? Like, what was like your dream?
Just to go to Egypt and discover a new pyramid, basically.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was my dream.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah, I learned the hieroglyphs a little bit, and it's fun.
That's amazing. No, I mean, I think that there's, it's something that comes up a lot with people that end up gravitating towards Aggregate Space Gallery, because it's something that Wilson...
That they wanted to be archaeologists?
No, that they were obsessed with museums when they were kids.
Yeah?
Even science museums, like maybe not even art museums.
I mean, science museums are are more interesting in that age, I think.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
you can't go into like a Bernard Newman exhibition as a 6-year-old. No, you're just bored. I mean, but there's something too like that, piecing things together. Like some people's minds just really appreciate how space is crafted in museums, I think, and how it opens up this idea of like steps in an experience. You know, whereas like, I mean, as a child, almost all the things that you're given are, you know, you're getting all this at once. You know, like even in school, it's like, here's the beginning, here's the end, here's the beginning, here's the end.
Interesting. I never
Everything
thought of
moves
that.
forward, but a museum is like, here's some, here's some, here's some. Maybe you get 80% of the picture, but it's maybe not the same picture that anybody's ever gotten before because you're making your own little journey. You know, I think it's very specific to like history and art, science museums that happens in. Because like aquariums are still kind of like that, or a planetarium, like you look and it's beginning to end. You know? I mean, I don't know. There's that path. I think it screws with artists' brains. It generates artists. I think science museums make more artists than
they generate artists. Oh wow! Yeah,
Yeah.
I should send my kid to
Oakland Museum. Oakland Museum is like our best one. Have you been yet?
Actually, I haven't.
You should go on a Friday. Everybody should go on a Friday. I don't work for them, but you should go on a Friday at 5 p.m. It's half price, and there's a giant like a billion food trucks outside, so you can get food trucks, and then you can go and get like there's like a bar set up, and you can get drinks, and then you pay half price. Or if you're a member, you can bring a friend for free, and membership is really cheap there. But the museum is I think 3 levels, and there's a science level, like a Bay Area history level, and then like an art level. And the art level is like split into like artists of California and like contemporary art exhibitions. It's the best museum if you ever have like children or nephews or nieces that visit. It's the best place to take them because it's kind of like the Exploratorium in terms of there's just so much you can do and enjoy it for a fairly cheap day. And it's next to the lake. It's nice. But you should go. I mean, the Bay history one is one of the weirdest and most exciting exhibitions I've ever seen because it's just a history of the Bay that is so weirdly broken up into like installation art and text stuff and photo stuff and like areas that you can walk into. I don't know. This sounds like a sales pitch, but I think it's an important thing to think about, like in terms of contemporary art spaces, especially in the Bay, where space is too expensive for people to do stuff like this, you know, and all of our galleries are swinging hard into the let's sell as many paintings to New Yorkers and Angelinas as possible. You know, it's
it wouldn't work for me. Well,
you could do the photo
thanks
thing.
to you. Yeah.
Have you thought about making more, kind of photo-based?
Yeah,
work?
well, I have my photographs framed and printed, and some of them, one is up in a fancy building for sale for a whole year up there now in the financial district. So I have that too,
right.
which I'm pursuing.
But
my heart beats for installation like this. Absolutely.
What's next?
I hate that question. How dare you? Ask me that. No, well, Robin, my child, is next, I think I already started something, which I'm gonna do probably for the next 20 years. I started to write. I have this diary I had when I was 9, and I wrote to my children in it. And I wrote, I wanted to make sure that they know that I was a modern person. And because I think at the time I didn't think of that. My mom, I thought she was kind of old-fashioned or something. And so I wanted to make sure that my kid won't think of me that way. So I wrote, it's like, this is a proof that I was modern, and I gave them names, and then I wrote, I was always modern, blah, blah, blah. I kept repeating myself, even now after 20 years. So I predicted that with 29, I'll have kids. And I'm 28 now, so it kind of fit. And now I'm writing in the same diary, because I never ended. All my diaries are just a few pages, and then I never continue. I have like multiple ones, but never finish. So this one, I continue to write to her now. While I was still pregnant, I started writing to her. So I think I will give it to her one day. I mean, it's letters to her, but I don't know when the moment should be and what it all means. So we'll see. Yeah.
I like that. I mean, and what was? I mean, the impetus being obviously the being afraid of becoming your mother, or having your daughter view you like you view your mother. Do you think that that's something that can turn into an art piece, or do you think it's going to stay private?
I think it's going to be something. I don't know what. I don't want to predict it too much, but I definitely like this thing of history repeating itself, and me trying as a child to control the thoughts of my children, of me, and the perception of me as a mother. And I mean, I hope I'm not going to turn into this controlling mother in a way, but it's just interesting to that a child knows my future will be like this. I will have kids, and I mean, mostly childs think that way, I think. Right. But it's funny to see maybe my daughter when she's 9, and if she will have the same thoughts, if she'll have a diary of her own and writing to her children. I don't know. It's so yeah. There's a lot going on, which is fun to figure out.
Do you think that's is there more of this project before you? Do you think there's more that could become of this project?
Oh yeah. I want to revisit in the summertime because I want to explore the area, because it's actually really beautiful also. So I feel that to give people a whole picture, eventually I need to return in summer and to also have more brightness and to that, and because you can hike, you can swim and canoeing. There's a lot of nature and mountains, and I mean, for myself, I want to see that too.
That's amazing.
And so,
what? I mean, would you see it ever becoming a film project?
A film project?
A cinema project?
I thought about maybe starting to reach out to people who would be interested in collaborating, because I think I'm at a point where I can't continue by myself anymore. I need help to make it grow kind of beyond something, and I'm afraid of that. But also because I don't know how I work with people on a personal project like this. But I'm also excited to start something new, I think.
I think that's an interesting. I mean, that's definitely a point of growth as an artist. Is at what point do you start to include other people and commit them to your vision and work in a collaborative way? But you're still like, this is my project. I'll help you on your project when you have your project.
Yeah. I'll just pay you. You do what I say. No. No, I don't know. I mean,
part of it is that I think that needs to happen. I'm excited. I mean, I think I look forward to seeing a version of this that is in a totally different space, like maybe multiple rooms or multiple films that several sit-down 4-minute films, or how does it break up into phases? Like how do you speak to this when you have a 7-month-old, versus when you're pregnant? Like does that change what this piece is when you were even closer to this reflection of your mother?
Oh, I see. Okay.
What other things start to get added to this?
I think it's constantly changing,
right.
And I'm okay with that. I know a lot of galleries are not okay with that, like the project changing, shifting. But I agree with you. Yeah.
I think sales guy. I mean, I think it's like you as long as you're committed to not being okay that it's not the money-making part of your practice, it can be like that, But I mean, I think if you're generating really beautiful images like that, or like the stork, maybe not necessarily Underpants Man, but
what do you have in?
But I mean, I think that there's other aspects of it that are like generating like really, really beautiful, rich imagery that could speak aesthetically and or speak conceptually, whereas this piece kind of growing and melding and kind of continuing to be this history of you and your family and your practice. I think that's a really interesting idea of some people that make lifelong projects. I was just trying to think of who would remember who is almost all of our exhibition fellows are here over the years. Flesh and Blood was. Drew, is that the video show for your? It was the.
I think so. Yeah.
Megan, was it Megan Wynn? Is that the name? Anyway, there was this artist that she had a baby. She just made work exclusively about her baby. She was an SFAI graduate, like moved back to the East Coast, and started making work about her children. And like the piece that she had in the show was just her baby, and she was just moving her thumb on the mouth, making it look like the baby was talking, but saying really rude things that the baby was doing. Like, I'm this most selfish person. But all of her work is kind of like this work about motherhood, and you should look it up. It's really, really funny. All of it's really, really funny. Really funny.
Yeah, you can do funny things with babies.
But like now that her daughters are, I think she has 2 daughters that they're older. It's like she's still like making work about them being 6 and 8.
I mean, I can see myself diving into that, but I also have to think about her, and her father is also very much about. She needs to like
not be a ploy in your art.
Yeah. No, I mean, once she's 18. She can decide if she wants to participate. But it's I think it's impossible as an artist to not be influenced by that, especially if my main theme is family. I mean,
it's gonna be part of it.
So but the diary for now is this is the starting point, and then I'll see where it takes me. But
that's awesome. Okay, so I think we're gonna open this up to questions. Does that seem? Yeah, it seems fair. But first, some announcements. Biggest one being Video Open Call is now live for next year's now 6th Video Open Call. Woo! So it's an unthemed call. I think it's $15.
Yeah.
$15 to pay and tell all your video artist friends to apply. The shows kind of grow out of the applications, so it's amazing. It's my favorite thing to put together, but also I think we curate it like it's a painting show, and then all the works kind of work with each other and have a conversation, and it's a really good show to be a part of. And youth program, we launched this program called Designer Doors. So if you know any high school kids in this zip code, or know any people that teach high school kids in this zip code, we're trying to offer a high school kid a chance to show a piece of artwork on the outside of our building for a 3-month period of time. That's printed on aluminum so that they can be proud, and it's a really great little thing that the Clorox Foundation is helping us experiment with and see if it's going to work as something that we can do in a prolonged basis. And then the next show, Alicia McDaniel's Imposter. Alicia McDaniel graduated from CCA and is doing this really great work about race and her family, and it's going to be really, really fantastic. So that is what's going to be up, opening November 16th. And there will be another artist talk on December 7th. And then the other little minor news is on December 12th, we're having a bit of a fundraiser here. We will have finished these behemoth books that have chronicled our first 52 exhibitions, as well as a variety of other programs, and we will have them here additionally for sale in support of the nonprofit. So thanks so much. Thank you so much, Mika. Do you guys have any questions?
One other thing I forgot is the living room light exchange.
Oh, Living Room Light Exchange. Willis and I, you guys, if anybody knows about the Living Room Light Exchange, you can go check them out on their website. But Willis and I are going to be giving a little mini 15-minute talk on Tuesday next week at a location unknown in San Francisco. Because that's how they operate. So anyway, ask Shaggy or I or Willis if Willis ends up showing up around. Any questions if you have any about that? Anybody have any questions for Mika? Yeah.
I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about the title of the exhibition.
Oh, the title. Initially it was Before You. I thought of a title because it's not so much about the city itself. It's about the history I have with the city. My family has. So I think when I saw this piece, I'm standing before you, and I think that kind of gave me that idea, but also then the time, like it was before you were born, basically, and I didn't want to finish that sentence. And then Aggregate Space came up with, okay, we need to like have a little bit more clue what it could be about. Shege came up with something about the circle, the polar circle, because it's the location, and it's above the circle. And I really like the word circle also as just a metaphor for circle of life, giving birth myself a week before install. And so it kind of really, and if you notice outside there, these postcards I had printed with the stork image. The stork brings the babies. On the back it reads that, and that was intentionally, I produced it just kind of as a card of the birth and the exhibition at the same time.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I think we were thinking just contextually, like how do we give a bit more context to the before you kind of really great double meaning, but like I think we all thought that this deserves to continue beyond this space, and I've kind of felt that if it just stayed before you, that it limits what this is to just being a part of your greater process and a specific exhibition here, whereas if we added like this other chunk of words, then before you above the circle happened here, but before you continues ongoing in your process and adds different levels or different modifiers as it grows and as it continues, and it can just be like this multi chapter
I like
artwork.
that idea. Yeah.
Anyway, that was more.
It's hard to pick a title, I think. It's very hard.
Sometimes people pick the title first and then make a whole series of artwork based on that. I think they're crazy.
I don't know how that works. That's weird.
Anybody else? Any thoughts?
I have a question. So one of the aspects I really like about this work is her relationship with the place, and that's something that is an emphasis throughout this show. But the photographs take on a different nature where they're portraits of people. So how do you see that in relation to you, and also, I guess in relationship to you?
You mean now the portraits, the one you can see in the, talking about the previous exhibition also? Well, I think it's tricky to incorporate portraits of people to tell a story about yourself.
Exactly.
So I don't know how that'll turn out eventually, but so far it's a way I like to work, because I like to take portraits and of people, and I mean with him I think it works really well that I saw my father in him, and because he's from the back, I think people don't. It allows more to project my story onto him. So I think I just need to be more careful of what portraits where you see the person with the face tell, where they can lead a story and maybe mislead people. And so now that I'm aware of that, I think I'll photograph more wisely, or more with that thought in my back when I go back, I think, than I did in January. Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a few things that make this work. I mean, one is that it's the size, right? It's that you've created an addition to the environment that kind of puts us like in the mine and then out of the mine, and it's this funny superimposition of like this piece is quite a bit of humor compared to almost everything else in the exhibition. Some of it's rather sad, some of it's just quiet and contemplative, but this kind of puts like this, like, oh, it's life, like there's life in this place. And I feel like it has this conversation with this other kind of this silent piece of work that speaks to the bustle of the city, but also just people going for a walk.
Yeah, I think it can have even more humor in the future. I think I'm up for it be a little bit more cheerful, because I mean, as I say in the main piece, I had bitterness of feeling with the place, and now I'm much more at peace with the place after the first visit, and I had a lot of fun while I was there with the people, and so I'm up for incorporating that as well in the future.
Yeah.
I have a question, I guess, or I am curious about your relationship to time showing up through movement. Like I was looking at, it seems like the trains and also the way the waves move, or even the way you're sort of standing is all sort of one sort of slow time almost feeling, which I think is really interesting in contrast with what initially reads like a sun or a planet, and that's almost the one that's moving the most quickly out of everything. And sort of just how it's almost like warping or framing time in a really different way, and just how that also relates to like the title and your experience of being present.
Yeah, I think time is the key here for the place. Also, as I say in the main piece, I mentioned that my mom told me that every year you spent in Norilsk used to be count as 2 years that you work. So if you went to the mainland, the rest of Russia they call it the mainland, and you worked 10 years in Norilsk, you get 20 years of pension, because it used to be so hard, like the conditions, so they counted double. Not anymore, that's over, but that used to be the case, and but it also meant that you age quicker. You go on pension quicker, but your life will be shorter. And so that fact really threw me off in terms of, okay, so time is moving faster when you're there. Is that another planet where you age quick? And it's interesting, when I went there and I met my cousins for the first time, and some of them just looked so young, and I thought, you don't look like your age. And said, yeah, while we're here, we're frozen. And they really say that, and they mean it's really true, because they're not exposed to sun as much, so their skin is really, really nicely preserved in terms of, but then they say once they leave, they age, like it just, it sounds like a science fiction movie, but it's really true. I've seen it happen, and the cousins that had left mine, who are older, they have problems with their health. So that whole thing about time, I think that's really could be reflected in those going down the mine very quickly and up, but then the heavy stones where you see the train moving slowly. I like that contrast between that.
Yeah, and I think it was a curatorial decision between Shage and Mika and myself to kind of keep that activity based around the manufacturing, the more mechanical things, kind of having them move quickly, and then having all the other stuff be more, it makes sense to kind of keep the contemplative stuff together, and the slower moving stuff. And just think about that. I mean, that was like the plastic on the rock is like the most wonderful thing.
It's his favorite piece.
Oh man, so there's there's these moments when cars drive by.
And it hits some light.
Oh my god, the lighting is so good on those shots.
It was all planned.
It's so weird. So weird. Yeah, I do. I love that piece. Anybody else have anything? Okay, well, please stay, hang out, have some mimosa.
And Russian snacks.
And Russian snacks. Do you want to talk about the Russian snacks?
I want to talk a little bit about that. No. I wish I made them myself. I can. Some of them I have done before myself, but not now, because I'm a mother and I don't have time for baking right now.
Right.
I'm not that crazy, but they're from the Cinderella Bakery, which is a really good Russian bakery, so you should have some.
Are they in Oakland or is that in San Francisco?
In San Francisco, yeah, and there are a few with meat, a few without meat, and some sweet stuff. Napoleon, one of the best cakes. It has a weird name, but it's a good cake. It's called Napoleon.
That's fine. Cool.
It's Shage's favorite cake, yeah.
That's really good. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, enjoy your day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Go enjoy the sunshine. We're going to spend about 10 minutes switching the space back to the exhibition, fixing the lighting, and turning all the sound back on. And have a snack. Have some mimosa if there's any left. And thanks for coming. See you December 7th.
Great job, Conrad.
Oh, thank you. finish. To fade out. Keep doing it.
I thought you were usually when it's the question Q&A. You